Egotastic FunTime.
Hey gang, I'm JP and welcome back to Talking The Orville on Egotastic FunTime. Today, we're gonna have a great time talking about Captain Mercer and the crew being tasked with initiating peace talks with the Krill and Gordon having to make a choice between honoring a personal debt to a friend or upholding a duty to his ship, his crew, and the Union. It's a race to uncover a mystery that threatens any hope for peace with the Krill as the Orville receives two escaped prisoners accused of harboring a devastating weapon. Can a treaty between two enemies end a generations-long war, or will a quest for vengeance soak the Tree of Liberty with the blood of Patriots? Boom! I totally nailed that one. Nice, JP, nice. In Blood of Patriots, Captain Mercer and the crew are tasked with initiating peace talks with the Krill, who they now share a common enemy with after the Battle of Earth with the Kalon. But they come across two escaped prisoners that... Wait! Hold it, stop the recap.
You maniac! You blew it up! Oh, damn you!
Sorry you guys, I'm still recuperating from being sick to death all last week, and I'm gonna skip the recap this time around and just get straight to my review of Blood of Patriots.
Because it hurts when I swallow.
First off, wow, what a great episode, you guys. I was a bit weary at first because I was like, well, how in the world is this episode not going to be kind of meh after the Identity two-parter? Of course it wasn't going to be able to live up to the epicness of all those space pew-pews and explosions, and the stakes were never going to be as high as Earth trying to defend itself from an invasion. But Blood of Patriots was great. It allowed the show to breathe a little bit, yet still try and sort through everything that happened in Identity, kinda, and you know, there's this aftermath that they got to worry about. They need an alliance, they got to figure this stuff out, and they need the Krill. They got to pick up the pieces. While Isaac is still working his station, his character has been given a timeout in this episode. A month has passed since the Kalon invasion, and I'm sure there were a lot of relationship mending going on board the ship during that time, but it's probably best that Isaac keeps a low profile for a little bit, don't you think? One thing the Orville does really well is that it tackles social issues in almost every episode, but doesn't give you an answer. It just asks questions. The Orville isn't trying to teach us what to think. They're teaching us how to think and come up with our own conclusions after being presented with an argument that doesn't have a black or white answer.
They're butchering fundamentalist fanatics. We shouldn't even be talking to them.
I'm just trying to do the right thing.
The right thing is to protect him. He's a Union officer. Do your job.
Finally, we get a story that fleshes out Gordon a little bit as being more than just comic relief. Sure, we get a couple of those classic Malloy one-liners in this episode, but they seem to be more for the purpose of giving us some contrast so that it hits even harder when funny guy Gordon is faced with a really difficult decision. Help his friend, who not only sacrificed his own life and lost his own identity, his wife, his child, his future, and instead knew only cruelty and barbarity at the hands of the Krill, and he did that to save others, Gordon being one of those others. Let's not be mistaken here. Oren is a hero, a patriot, but making peace with those Krill bastards is vastly more important than his personal vendetta.
Peace with the Krill is a slap in the face of Sophie's memory. It's the Union saying, we forgive you for all the atrocities. We didn't care about those people anyway.
Oren was dead set on revenge, but can you blame him really? The Krill killed his wife, his daughter, imprisoned him for 20 years, and I don't blame him a bit for what he was doing. Though I don't know why the Krill would even keep him alive for 20 years. Why not just get rid of him? After what he'd been through, I would never expect him to see the bigger picture through his pain. Even the greatest officers in the fleet have a hard time sorting through that kind of damage.
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about saving the future of humanity!
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
It's like Gordon said at the end of the episode, the Oren that he knew died a long time ago in that Krill prison, because the Oren that he knew is really just a kid, really, if you think about it. He got captured in his early 20s and then spent his entire adult life in prison by the Krill. I wouldn't expect him to keep his humanity at all after that. Staying grounded after being in that type of situation for that long usually only happens in fairy tales. Many of you said that you liked this episode because it was taking on the issue of PTSD, which is a topic that deserves more attention in society for sure.
You've had a life! For 20 years, all I've had is loneliness and brutality, and all the time in the world to relive the memory of watching my family die!
I see a man who has been wronged and tortured and is dead set on getting payback, and understandably so. He's still in this. The war wasn't years ago. He's been held captive all this time, and he's still trying to make his way out, but also get revenge. Orrin probably knows better than Gordon that he died a long time ago. Like I mentioned before, I really like the contrast between goofy Gordon.
Maybe we could, I don't know, offer the Krill something else instead.
Like what?
Free back rubs or something.
Then we get to switch over to man on a mission Gordon, who's kind of a badass. Ed was completely caught in the middle of all of this. Gordon is his best friend, and he understands how important Orrin is to him. Not to mention Orrin's a Union officer, POW. The dude's a hero, and he should be treated as such. But the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, I'm afraid to say. I like that Ed had no intention of turning Orrin over to the Krill, despite the treaty, because he assumed Orrin was innocent. Even when Admiral Perry told him they're considering extradition, he said only if Orrin was guilty of destroying those Krill ships and violating the ceasefire. Though that is a little bit sketchy to me, because even though Orrin lied about almost everything he told the crew, he said that he wasn't even aware of the ceasefire, and I actually believe him on that one. That makes sense to me. He's been on the run, and I doubt he's had time to keep up with the latest haps with the Union. I'm guessing running a pain train on the Krill with explosive blood is very time consuming. Orrin was captured 20 years ago. As far as I'm concerned, he's not a Union officer anymore. I was actually surprised they gave him a uniform to wear on the ship. With the very thin foundation this treaty is standing on, the last thing I'd do is claim Orrin as part of the Union, especially after what he's accused of. Help him? Yes. Protect him? Absolutely. Give him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the charges against him? Sure. But don't act like he's a representative of the Union.
I hope I'm not in breach of any protocol.
Of course not. You're a Union officer. You have clearance all over the ship.
It's really nice to see Yaphet get recognized and be given the Sapphire Star for his bravery during the Battle of Earth. I remember we were all totally worried that Yaphet wasn't going to be part of Season 2 because we loved him so much. He was such a cool character. But he's totally there, and he's totally awesome.
All in a day's work, Captain.
I think Dr. Finn deserves a medal for this episode for her quick thinking when she realized the fake daughter was an Invol. She showed up right when Lena's blood was exposed to the ship's atmosphere and instantly got Tala out of the room, had a force field put up around it, and evacuated all the nitrogen out of the room like in under a minute. The Invol are an interesting concept. They're a humanoid species from the star system Lakar B, and their blood cells contain an iodine compound, which when exposed to nitrogen-rich atmosphere, renders the plasma highly unstable, turning it into a very powerful explosive. Kind of like when Michael Bay drinks a Red Bull. Red Bull gives you wings! When the Krill are accusing Orrin of having some sort of super weapon, but Tala couldn't find any proof of it, I knew the Krill were probably right, but just like the crew, I couldn't figure out how he was doing it. I mean, it made sense that the Krill could be lying, because like I said, they're a bunch of dicks. But this is a TV show, you guys. If the crew believes he's innocent, then he's probably guilty. Or otherwise, where does the episode have to go from there? Some of you say that you figured out that the daughter was the weapon.
You ever met a Selayan before?
No.
You have now.
I didn't see it coming at all. I figured maybe she wasn't talking because she loved her dad and was maybe a little bit afraid of him, and she just didn't want to turn him in and betray him. As soon as he started snooping around engineering, it was obvious he wasn't on the up and up, but I still never saw the daughter as being in on it as a willing participant, or that she wasn't even his real daughter in the first place. What? The complexity of the story was great for me. Ed being caught between saving a hero or taking into account the potential of countless lives being saved in the future. Gordon having to consider duty over personal obligation to a friend, the violent actions of a one-time hero's quest for revenge against the Krill, and the fact that we sympathize with them. The Krill representatives suffering through a pointless TSA screening and being sent to the P corner. Even though this episode wasn't about her per se, I feel we really got to know a little bit more about Tala, and that's always appreciated. I'll never forget Alara, but I'm really liking Tala's character, you guys. She's tough, confident in her work, trustworthy, she has a soft side and a sense of humor, and she's really awesome at playing the holophoner.
A holophoner? Only a few people in the whole universe can play that.
That was really pretty.
Once we knew Gordon was taking Orin to steal a shuttle, I figured it was all a ruse to trick Orin into revealing his plan. I figured Orin was guilty the entire time of destroying those Krill ships. I mean, it makes sense, but I sympathized with where he was coming from and what he went through. But all of that changed the moment I found out he brought Gordon on a suicide mission. My precious Gordon! He planned on taking them both down John Bon Jovi style in a blaze of glory so that he could end the ceasefire and ignite a war. You leave Gordon alone, you son of a bitch! Orin can go F himself in the A, you guys. Him and his fake daughter. One thing that did surprise me, even though it really shouldn't, but it does surprise me every time this happens on the show, because it's easy to forget the Orville crew are actually highly trained officers, but Gordon handled himself really well during that fight on the shuttle. It was a nice throwback to classic Star Trek for sure. Jumping out into space, not knowing if help was on the way, was pretty awesome. Though how much do you want to bet that spacesuit was filled to the brim with Jaloja when he got back on the ship? Blood of Patriots had a great mystery to be solved. How did this guy destroy those ships? Is he even guilty? How do we prove his innocence or his guilt? Many times in a show, the reveal is never as good as the mystery itself, but I was pleasantly surprised in this case. I never expected the fake daughter's blood could be used as a weapon. The idea of a race of people having blood that would react that way to nitrogen never even occurred to me. So good job, the Orville, for defying expectations. We've been waiting to see Tala open a jar of pickles all season long, and she finally did.
Get the door open. On it.
She wasn't lying when she told Gordon that she could put his lights out with one hand, which really makes me feel bad for those poor Krill dudes that were just trying to get through customs. Blood of Patriots was written by Seth MacFarlane, directed by Rebecca Rodriguez, and the music was composed by John Debney. The title comes from a famous quote by Thomas Jefferson. "The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants." In the Krill language, the Devorikos translates to bringer of blood, which finds further meaning in the fact that Orin was using Invol blood to bring destruction to the Krill. Orin was played by Mackenzie Aston. Fake Lena was played by Ailey Key, and Ted Danson returns as Admiral Perry. Star Trek alum John Fleck, who you might remember as the main Solarpunk from Enterprise, played Krill Ambassador KTZ. Brosk was played by Jim Mahoney, and Krill Captain Jakash was played by Robin Atkin Downs. During the signing of the peace treaty, the Ambassador signed his name in Krill, and Captain Mercer signed his first name as Ed, which makes me wonder if his name isn't short for anything. Not Edward or Edwin or even Eddie, just Ed, you guys. The rendezvous point where the Orville and the Devorikos met is in orbit of Terra Z3. Terra Z being a common alternative name for the Gamma Aquila star, which is located almost 400 light years from Earth. The real Earth! Gordon and Lena were watching Planet of the Apes, which might refer to what Earth could one day become if peace with the Krill isn't secured. The Orville comes through once again with a thoughtful, heartfelt, complicated adventure where the line between what's right and wrong is very blurred. Ed had an impossible decision to make, with literally the weight of the world on his shoulders. Blood of Patriots lives up to some of the best episodes of Star Trek, while continuing to move forward on its own unique path in a universe full of new worlds to discover and mysteries to solve. Season 2 is almost over, you guys, and I have to say, I'm really going to miss the crew until we see them again next season. Fingers crossed. Hashtag renew the Orville! We've only got 4 more episodes to go, you guys. Season 2 has been a wild ride so far, and it's gone by so quickly, right? I mean, it feels like yesterday that we are all excitingly rushing to our television sets to watch Bortus triumphantly pee off a cliff. Okay, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today, and I talked about it. How about you? Do you think Orin should have been turned over to the Krill, or were his actions justified? How do you feel about Gordon's decision to set up his friend to try and figure out what's going on? Do you think Tala will give Lieutenant Dan a sweet Chilean land now that he's over Alara? You can let me know what you think by joining the conversation below.
Today's episode of Talking The Orville is brought to you by Riley, Quarantined Anarchy. In the darkness of space, there's a planet whose name is synonymous with death. Tales from the long ago speak of a plague that kills young and old. Follow Riley as she investigates a space station in orbit of a plagued planet in search of an arms dealer who's been making a killing on the black market. But an unexpected trip to the deadly planet turns her investigation into a fight for survival. The Riley Saga by Benson C. Satterfield is an action-packed, egotastic thrill ride as Riley attempts to make it off the plagued planet and find out how it all connects to the missing weapons before falling victim to the effects of this strange new world herself. Available now on Amazon by clicking the link below. Don't forget to leave a review to help Riley Quarantine Anarchy soar through the ranks and secure its place as a rightful heir to the Egotastic Empire. Get it today.
Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and supporting my stupid show, and thanks to the Riley series for sponsoring this episode. It really does mean the world to me. I'll see you very soon, and as always, I hope all your times are egotastic fun times. Love you, bye-bye!
Egotastic fun time, we're gonna have a great time. Egotastic fun time, give me all your money. Give him all your money. You will find it funny. Just give me money. I love money. Give me all your 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 money.